Y'all know what time it is. Another episode of A Brothers Got Next. I'm here with my boy Darian. Darian, I like that hoodie you got on. Can you show it off a little bit?
Yeah.
Hey, that's one of the goats right there, baby.
The GOAT. Well, for me, the GOAT. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, speaking of that, I'm glad that you wore that because we are gonna be talking a little hip hop later in the show.
yeah, man. Yeah, nah. Shout out to Brooklyn. Shout out to Big and his family. Obviously Miss Valletta Wallace died a few weeks ago.
R.I.P.
That was sad hit, but I'm glad she can be up there with her son now. You know what I mean? But
Yep.
yeah, man, Big to me, just real quick, like he's timeless, bro. I feel like people still listen to his music today. He's one of those people that you can put in now and people like still bumping like, yo, this joint is fire. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
he's one of the goats for a reason. No question.
yeah, he's timeless, bro. So yeah, like I said, he's my favorite rapper of all time. I mean, I know there's always big debates of who's the greatest, who's the best, and all that, but he's my GOAT. And I think being a little biased, just being from Brooklyn, you know what I mean? Like, it's like he said at the Source Awards or the Vibe Awards, he said this is for Brooklyn. Like he put Brooklyn on his back. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
At a time where we didn't really have a lot of like rappers like that were like that. You know what I mean? In the 90s. So
did you now? Jay-Z's also from Brooklyn. Was there ever a time where Jay was your favorite rapper?
Yeah. So I would say after Big died. So when I would say around when I was like in a godly 8th grade,
Crazy,
like, I know, right? Like when Hard Knock Light Volume 2 came out. Yeah, because I remember shout out to our boy Nick, who's also a friend of the show. That's when he started to love Jay-Z. I know he thinks Jay-Z's the GOAT, but I know that's when he started loving Jay-Z. Because I started listening to Jay-Z really Volume 1. Like Reasonable Doubt, I had to go back and listen to that.
Mm-hmm.
But Volume 1 is when I really started listening to Jay-Z. But yeah, he's probably my favorite rapper. And then once I got to college, when the whole beef happened, I was like, yeah, I got to go with Nas, man. Like, Nas ended up becoming my favorite rapper. I just thought, I was like, okay, he won the battle. I think Nas is better. Now, my favorite rapper besides Big is people that know me closely is Common. You know what I mean? I fell in love with Common. Shout out to our boy Alan, another friend of the show. He's the one. Alan put me on to Common when I was like in 8th grade too. So the first album I ever heard of that was One Day It All Makes Sense.
I remember bumping that in high school.
Yeah, and I was like, oh, this album is
class. Yeah,
it's great, bro.
That's how I
just been following, ever since then I've been a fan. So I would say outside of Big, yeah, he's definitely probably my second favorite living rapper of all time. You know what I mean? So
yeah. It's so interesting, man. Since we've met each other, because we have a lot of similarities when it comes to rap. But then there are also rappers that like I vibe with more than you. Like I've always been an M guy. You've always been like, Although you've never disrespected M like talent wise. You're like, oh yeah,
no, he has talent. I just thought I've always just thought he was a little overrated.
Yeah.
But he's definitely up there. You know what I mean? I just think there are rappers that to me are just either on par with him as far as lyrically or maybe better. And I get it, I'm not going to use the, skin color or whatever. I mean, I get it. Like, we had never seen anything like that, because Vanilla Ice was kind of like a
gimmicky.
Gimmicky, there you go, right. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? But, yeah, we've never seen a guy who like that, like, oh, man, he can really rap. He can flow. So I give him that. I always say to myself, I just think there's guys that are better, And
one thing I'll say about M that I don't know if it goes unnoticed or not, but like he's always shown respect to the culture. He's always given respect.
That's why I really have never disrespected him, or I still kind of like him, right? Because when I've always heard him talk, he's always given respect.
Oh, always. You listen to he has so many songs where he's
the culture, right? And he's always said like, yo, like I'm a guest in this culture, right? Like, so that's one thing I respect him for. You know what I mean? I can't knock him for that because it's not like he's never out of his mouth come and say, "Yo, I'm the greatest. I'm the GOAT."
He's always kind of developed his own style. Some people rock with it, some people don't. I think for me, I can't relate to a lot of his content. I mean, I can't relate to a lot of content of the rappers that I look like either, like Black. But all like his stuff was so different than what we were used to listening to. Well, I think for me, the level of creativity, just the wordplay, the flow. That's what attracted me to Eminem. And I just thought his songs were catchy. Now, some of them are extremely silly. But you know me, D. I'll never deny the whack stuff. I've never been like, nah, this is... I've always told you, this whack.
It's silly, but they're funny. Like, I'll laugh at them. You know what I mean? Yeah, I do laugh at him. Some of his songs are hilarious. But, yeah, I mean, he was different. And like I said, I take nothing away from him. He's definitely one of the most influential rappers
no question.
of all time.
No question.
Whether you like him or not. And that's fine. If you don't like him, that's perfectly okay. And I think he's okay with it. And he said that in interviews. He says he knows people don't like him because, again, I don't want to bring up the skin color, but he knows that. He's actually said in interviews like, people have, I know people don't really rock with me because
and I know it's okay to bring that up. Like, that's people know that. Yeah,
you know
what
I mean? But I feel like he's content with that. He's okay with that. He's not, and he's never like come back and like hated on that. Like, oh, why don't you like me? He's just like, I'm content with that. He's like, that's fine if you don't like me for that reason. I get it. And I think he gets why, you know what I mean? So again, I've always respected him. I don't have him in my, top rappers because, just because of what I've, my style, what I listen to and where I'm from. Like I like a particular type of hip hop and rap. So yeah, but I've always respected him. Again, he's definitely one of the most influential rappers of all time, whether you like him or not.
Yeah, my big issue with M is the inconsistency of his discography. Discography,
I agree. Yeah,
he had some good albums, but then some is just like really bad ones. Like,
because I feel like the first two were really good. Then he had this big gap where they weren't good, and then I love the recovery. Like I was like, okay, he kind of came back with that.
Yeah, I think his first 3 albums were good. I liked Eminem Show a lot as well.
Yeah, see, I didn't like Eminem Show. I like his first. That's
actually one of his more critically acclaimed albums. So I actually think you may be in the minority of people that don't like that album. I thought Eminem Show was great.
Do you like it better than Marshall Mathers LP? Because I think that's his best album for me.
Probably not. I like Slim Shady LP a lot.
Well, that's what I said. I love because I actually bought that album. That was the one that I bought his first album.
So his first 3 to me are really good.
Right. I would say, like, I know you said his first. I like his first 2. And then I said, like, after that, I felt like, obviously that's when it kind of went downhill. And then he had The Recovery, which was a really good album. And I was like, remember, I think I told you. Remember, he was kind of, I know he had some issues. And I was like, oh.
He got serious again.
I was like, okay. Yeah, I'm like, The Recovery, this is dope. And then he got kind of bad again. You know what I mean? Then it was just
then he got good again. Then he got bad again. Then he got good again. It's just
because I actually like, I don't know what you feel about. Are you feeling his latest one? I like the Slim Shady 2 LP.
I thought that was solid.
I actually thought it was good. You know what I mean? I think I told you that. I was like, yeah, this album's actually all right.
I like the album he came out with maybe about 5 years ago that a lot of people didn't really like that I thought was solid was Kamikaze.
I didn't like that.
Yeah, see, exactly. Yeah. But then he had
a lot of songs where I remember. I don't know who's this guy he's always talking to on the album.
Oh, Paul, like Paul. What's his name?
He was talking Paul Rosenberg. It was really weird.
But he has skits with Paul Rosenberg on like every album. That's just a little thing.
Yeah.
He came out with an album called Revival, which I thought was horrible, and then Relapse was horrible. But one thing about M, he tells you, he was like, yeah, the album wasn't good. He said he was like, well, I was on drugs when I was doing.
Recovery was dope because I guess that's what he got off of him. Recovery was dope. Like I said. Those are my 3 favorite. Like, and probably this new one. I would say, Slim Shady LP, Marshall Mathers LP, The Recovery, and then Slim Shady LP, Slim Shady LP 2. I think those are.
I didn't really like. He came out with a Marshall Mathers 2. I didn't really.
That wasn't good. Yeah, I agree with you.
That was not good.
It didn't work. Yeah, it just didn't work. I mean, he says this is going to be his last one. The Slim Shady. He claims that. We'll see. He says this is going to be.
Up there. He's in his 50s now.
I know. Yeah, he says this is his last. That was going to be it. So we'll see.
But yeah, man, we'll circle back, talk a little hip hop later. We'll talk about the females and who are some of the best in the game, and if we agree with Billboard releasing a top 25 list, we'll get to that. But let's get to some NBA talk, man. We'll start off with we're recording this show on a Thursday as always. Luka Doncic returned to Dallas to face the Mavericks last night. Balled out. 45 was good. It had 31 at the half.
I was just about to say that. Yeah,
beautiful tribute by the Mavs, man. I give them a lot of props for that. Really nice. He got very emotional about it. And one of our friends of the show, Anish, I was texting him, and he made a really good point, man. He's like, look, he's going through all the emotions of like a breakup. There's anger, there's confusion, anger, sadness, but then we've all been through it, and then eventually you just got to move on. Like life goes on. He's got a new girl now, the Lakers, so you got to move on. But yeah, just wanted to get your thoughts on what you saw last night, what you thought of Luka's performance. We've talked about the whole Nico Harrison thing before. Was it the right move? But I want to get your thoughts on what you saw and what you thought about everything.
Yeah, like you said, let's just start off with the tribute. I thought that was really a class act by the organization.
It was. Yeah.
I am not feeling this fire Nico thing. You know what I mean? I'm really not. I'm with Cuban. I don't know if you saw the footage of Cuban when they were doing it. He had like his head down. Like, come on, guys. Like, have some more. I'm talking about the fans.
Mm-hmm. Fans are gonna be fans. Yeah,
they are. Yeah, and I just don't like that because. Again, as I go back to the trade, whether you like the trade or not, or you thought it was one-sided, they saw Luka every day, right? They were able to see, was it worth keeping him and giving him a long extension? So whatever they saw, they didn't think that was the case, right? Now, hindsight 2020, we'll see in the long run who gets the better of the trade because we don't know yet. Now, the Mavs...
we kind of know.
Why do you say that?
How are the Mavs going to come out on the better side of this? They're not anywhere. They're not sniffing a title. Look, I don't know what they're going to do, how they're going to build on this. Mm-hmm. But if we're looking at it right now.
Oh, right now, that's what I'm saying. I'm just saying, But I prefer saying in the long run, we don't know. I didn't say right now. Right now, of course, the Lakers have the edge because the Mavs have a bunch of people hurt. Anthony Davis just came back.
And and Anthony Davis is not in his – he's still playing – he's still in his prime, but it's not the middle or the beginning of his prime. It's more going towards the back end of his prime.
Same thing with Clay. Clay's older.
Well, Clay's past his prime.
Yeah, past his prime, right. And then Kyrie, Kyrie's still balling.
He's still in his prime. I think he's just injured. Yeah, he's still
exactly. Yeah, so
we'll see how he comes back from this injury, though.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. I want to see them fully healthy next year and see how that is.
Although you can argue that it's a team full of two options, though. Who's the number one guy on the Mavs, even when they're healthy?
Yeah, I would still say probably Kyrie. I think AD is probably a number two at best right now.
Yeah, I think man. At one point, those dudes had they've had Porzingis, Jalen Brunson,
I know,
Luka Doncic. Just like wow, they couldn't keep any of these. Not one of them three.
I know. Kristaps, I'll say this: Will Kristaps, he's more of he's a very, very good role player at this point, right? He's
a great three, like a great three.
Correct, right? 3 or 4, like he's not even a 2. So I can't blame them for that. Kristaps is more because he can go to any team and be a really good 3.
For sure.
Fine. Jalen Brunson's the one you're like, whoa, they missed out on that because he's like a superstar now.
Yeah, he's dope.
You know what I mean? So I think that's the one you're like, oh, they probably should have re-signed him.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying Nico didn't make mistakes and didn't drop the ball, but we just have to see and wait. Because look, while I love the Lakers, I still don't think I don't think they're going to win a title. It's going to be still tough for them to come out the West. Like, I don't care what anybody says. Like, I know everybody got hyped when they beat the Thunder this week, but then the Thunder beat them. Now I know Luka got ejected, but we have to wait and see. Remember, this is a 7-game series, so one game doesn't make anything. We have to see them in a series, right? And I still want to see look, as much as Denver, the turmoil that's going on there, if they play Denver, let's see what happens. Like, everybody thinks this is just this is new improved Lakers. They're gonna go. I don't see it. First of all, just a week ago, y'all was saying that now they might not even get past the first round when they lost to the Bulls and were losing and all that. I'm like, okay, so look, I understand that it's what have you done for me lately. It's a game by game thing, but the Lakers, I think, they can definitely get to the Western Conference Finals. I don't know if they'll get past that. I don't think they'll get past that. And then again, we don't. As far as the future goes, obviously we know Luka's going to be there. Well, we think he's going to be there. He hasn't signed the extension yet, but yeah, LeBron. I don't know how much longer he's going to play. So eventually, it's going to be Luka's team. And when LeBron leaves, we got to see what the Lakers do. Are they going to put guys around him? Are they going to even be able? You know what I'm saying? Like, we got to see that. So that's why I don't want to say that the Lakers have won the trade right now. Yes, they have, right? And yeah, even if they get to Western Conference Final, people are like, look at that. But I think this is more of a long-term thing, right? We got to see what the Mavs do too. I'm not going to just discredit the Mavs right now just because they're hurt and we don't know what the future holds for them. Who knows what they can pull off in the future, whether it's through trades or draft picks and stuff. So I think it's a wait and see. But as far as the game last night, yeah, I thought, Luka balled. He had 31 at the half, as you said. Finished with 45. I wasn't surprised. I kind of expected that he was going to come and kind of try to prove, like, yo, y'all got rid of me. I'm going to show y'all why you shouldn't have got rid of me. It was typical. I wasn't really surprised about that. But
the whole thing is, where was AD at? Listen, that's a perfect opportunity for you to be like, all right, look, Mavs fans, I understand he's a young superstar, global superstar, one of the best scorers in the game, one of the best young talents we've ever seen, D.
Right.
He was one of the best young talents we've ever seen. 13 points, 5 of 13 from the field. Like, you gotta, I just feel like if let's say AD would have dropped 33 last night, at least Mavs fans would have been like, man, this is a great Luka tribute. He played well, but man, look at all, this is the guy we got. AD balled out. I know it's just one game. I think that's been my issue with AD over the course of his career. It's like when it's time, when that spotlight is shining on you to be that dude, he just doesn't show up sometimes, man. Now, do you think I'm overreacting, or do you think like,
Yeah, I
yeah,
think
I
you
wanted
are.
him to step up
You
too?
gotta go back. Like you acting like this dude. You remember what he did in the bubble. Now I know they listen. I've always argued this. Y'all can get on me, whatever. I think AD should have really won the Finals MVP over LeBron in that final series because if you look at AD's numbers, he balled out. Now I get it, it's LeBron because he also balled too, so they're gonna probably give it to
Yeah,
LeBron because he's LeBron. I get it, but I thought AD should have got that thing in the bubble.
that's interesting.
Yeah, because
Okay.
I thought AD was really the reason they won that championship. It wasn't LeBron. LeBron played well. Don't he was good, but they don't have AD. They not winning that championship. You know what I
Well,
mean?
but I mean, if they don't have LeBron, they're not either, though. That's
Yeah,
not
I get
really
that, but I'm just saying if you look
yeah.
at the numbers and just look at everything. Remember, I think it was the series against the Nuggets. Remember when he hit that game-winning shot?
Mm-hmm.
They're down. I think in that game, at the end, and he hits it to win it. I just thought he played phenomenal. Right now, let's go fast forward to like since then. Now, obviously, the Lakers as a whole have been kind of disappointing. When they weren't making the playoffs, and it wasn't just AD's fault. It's like I think AD and LeBron was always the ball.
Mm-hmm.
It's sometimes been the other guys, right, or the coaching. Like I know, a la Darvin Ham, Vogel. Because even when they went to the Western Conference Final, he balled in that playoff.
Mm-hmm.
He did his thing. It's just again, like again, you need more than just him and LeBron. Sometimes
Yeah.
the other guys have to step up. You know what I mean? You can't, just depend on two guys and be like, oh yeah, you guys just go ahead and do everything. But I think I think when he was in LA, he got sometimes unfairly criticized because he did ball. It's just that I guess people wanted him to be more like dominant, and that's not him. Like his game is not like that. He's not Shaq. He's not Wilt. You know what I mean?
LeBron was okay. LeBron has been okay for a while handing somebody the keys. Like he's cool.
Right.
Like even now, he's like, yeah, Luka's the younger player. I'm more towards the back end. Like I'm cool with him being the main focal point on offense.
Right.
He wanted AD to do that, but AD never really took advantage of that. And I'm going to disagree with you on the finals. I thought LeBron deserved that. I mean, he led them in scoring. If you lead in scoring and you win the series, I'm cool with that. Like I know there's other parts to it, like defensively and this, but to me, I mean, LeBron had games where he had 40, where he had 34. Like, I was fine with that. But I thought you were gonna go towards the whole bubble thing, like people call it the Disney title or whatever. So
yeah, I mean, I have my thoughts on that. It is what it is. They did what they did. Yeah. They won it. You know what I mean? I mean, people say they're gonna put an asterisk or say like, oh, this shouldn't count. I mean, it is what it is. They did what they did. The NBA salvaged the season because it was either that or not have a season, right? So, I mean, some people think it was unfair because it's like, all right, they had to come to one place and all that, and you know what I mean? Like they didn't really finish out the season to kind of see what was going to happen, but it is what it is. We went through something that was unprecedented, and they had to make the best of it, right? Because I think what people compare that to is the NFL, where even though they had no fans, they still had a whole season, right? Mm-hmm. So there was no like, oh, they shouldn't have won it because there was no fans. Like they were still going to each other's stadium, and obviously they just had no fans. But yeah, so that one is like you can't discredit. Who I think the Bucks won it, right? The Bucks won it that year of COVID.
Against the Suns. Yeah, that was the year after. That was a 2021
season.
Oh,
I'm sorry. Right. Mm-hmm. Who won it the year of the COVID with the Super Bowl?
Oh, the Bucks. I'm sorry. You said I'm sorry. I was when you were still talking basketball. I had a brain fart. Yeah.
The Bucks winning. Yeah, but I'm saying you don't discredit the Bucks for winning that because you're like, they went through a whole season. It wasn't like there was a stoppage. I get that. Like there was a stoppage in the NFL. We're like, oh, okay, now they put them all in one place.
Yeah, people treat football differently than basketball for some reason. I think, and the thing that's not fair either is that remember that the NBA it happened during the season, like whereas the NFL it was the off season.
Right.
So they had a whole off season to kind of figure out how they wanted to do it. And then by the time the Buccaneers won that Super Bowl, that was in 2021, February of 2021. So they had more like time to kind of
exactly. So that's why that's what I'm saying. I'm just saying that's why people don't really criticize that season. Nobody says, oh, the Bucks. That's an asterisk because there was no fans. Like, I mean, they still played a whole season.
And it was actually a good series still. Jimmy Butler had some awesome games. It was still
he did. Yeah, so I think, people have mixed feelings about that whole bubble, and I get both sides of it. But, no, I give them credit. They won it. They, because they were pretty much the best team that year, even before, the stoppage. I remember they were rolling. So when they won, it wasn't like, oh, surprise. I think if somebody else had came out and won that kind of came out of nowhere,
that might be more of a like,
yeah, right. Like, okay, if they didn't stop it, then they probably would have. You know what I'm saying? Right. So that's what I'm saying. So people have their mixed feelings about it, but no, I give them credit. They won the championship. That's what I think that was his last championship, his fourth. Like, but yeah, I know people have mixed feelings about it, but no, I don't take anything away from that.
Yeah. One thing I want to say real quick before we move on from this topic is, the whole thing with firing Nico Harrison. I don't like it. And I think fans need to understand, like, he reached out to the Timberwolves. He's like, yo, we want Anthony Edwards. Like, because I think, let's be real, if this trade happened for Anthony Edwards, the Mavs fans would be like, oh man, we like Luka, but they were like, damn, we got Anthony Edwards. Like, this is a young, dynamic talent who,
how I feel about Anthony Edwards. You know what I mean?
He's the most mature dude in the world, but he's
no.
You know what I mean? But oh boy, he needs bruh.
Yeah,
come on. I understand the level.
But it's like to be a young NBA superstar. I mean,
there's a lot of those that don't do what he's doing though.
Well, what do you mean? Zion's doing it right now.
Not sure a lot though. Yeah, those are two guys, but not everybody.
Those are two like stars. These ain't like two nobodies. Like, oh,
yeah, but look at Melo. Look at Melo, LeBron. Well, I can name a ton of people that ain't having a bunch of kids.
Those are older. I'm talking about the players now. Yeah, well, those are vets. You talking about like? Oh, you talking about?
They weren't always vets. They were young at 1.2.
They were. Yeah. Oh, you're saying they weren't doing that? Yeah, but it's a different era, bro. Like,
how is it different? There's
what I'm saying is like you're talking about. We always talk about eras, right? Like that era of basketball is not. They weren't in that era. Like with Anthony Edwards and Zion weren't in that era. I'm not saying that times are not the same or were different, but actually times were different because I mean, like, dude, the technology we have now in 2003, we didn't have that when they came in the league. Like it was coming, but it was like they don't. Okay, I don't want to start the topic with talking about women, whatever, right? But even back then, we didn't see the plastic surgery boom that we see now.
True.
Right?
Yeah, you can't deny that.
We were more natural then. Like you're like, oh, okay, like you know what I'm saying. Like we were in college, so we know like BBLs and all that stuff that wasn't really existing yet when we were in college. So I get like maybe that's why it didn't happen. Like they were just going off of the natural beauty, whatever. Like, and I'm not to say women still didn't look beautiful, but now it's a different time, bro. It is. And then like remember, we didn't have social media in 2003. I mean, what do we have? What Facebook, MySpace, like.
MySpace.
It was MySpace, right? Yeah. So like, bro, like they didn't have that, like, what it is now. Like,
but they've always had the access. Like the women have always been around for these athletes. It's not like, yo,
man. They different, bro. These women are different now. They are. Like I said, I don't want to get into the topic. That's a whole nother topic just to get into, but they're different, bro. So I'm gonna cut them a little slack. Like what they have to deal with.
No, I'm not cutting them slack.
No.
He said, I
am. Yeah, I am cutting them slack. It's different, bro.
Man. Nah. I'm not different. I'm not cutting. You cutting Tyreek Hill slack?
No, well, that's different because he's like, well, he's domestic violence. That's
no. I'm not talking about. I'm talking about just the amount of children he's having.
I mean, bro, look at these women out here. I mean, like I said, that's a whole other.
I understand. Look, I get that. But that
in the social media, it's different, bro. It's not
no. That does not mean.
No, so you were talking about access, right? Well, I actually like that you brought that up. You talked about access, right? So back then, we didn't have like we could just DM a girl, right? Or like, oh, let me like use social media, right? We didn't have that.
No, it's easier.
Let's actually go up to the girl, ask her number, talk to them. Like it was different, bro. It's totally different. Like how the dating world, it is totally different now. We've talked about it, just you and me personally, like. Many times, like over the years, like how it's just different, bro. When we were dating, it's a totally different game. So, again, you're talking about the access. Yes, LeBron and Melo had access, of course they did, but they actually had to like be somewhere, meet the girl. Like when I'm just giving when Melo was married to Lala, right? They had to meet first. There wasn't no DMs and let me shoot her. No, it was like she's at a party. I gotta go up to her, introduce myself. It was a totally different,
whole different process.
Exactly. So I am gonna cut them a little slack because it's just, the world is different now. Like everything evolves. Like you can't say like, well, it's the same. No, it's not the same as 2003. Like and LeBron,
I'm not saying it's the same, but you
can't bring up LeBron. LeBron's been with Savannah since high school. That's
look. Listen, I was bringing up. You were saying that like I'm saying that not every athlete is doing what Edwards is doing and impregnating and a lot of 3-4 different.
No, that we know of. Yeah, and that's another thing. We don't like. We hear about like obviously him and Zion, right? But well, first of all, like okay, no. I'm gonna go back to that. You have the Jalen Greens who's 21 with Drea, who's like 41. You're getting that
more on Drea.
Exactly, but okay, so name me.
He just has one kid, right? At least I think.
She has a kid that's like the same age as him, right? And then you have like who's that? Is it Mikal Bridges or one of them from the Hornets who was dating like Larsa Pippen? They're just going through the same girl? Like okay,
well, your boy's son was dating Larsa too.
Exactly. So back then, name me an athlete that was doing that kind of stuff. You can't. Like the only thing that we saw that was kind of like and that was kind of after college was the Ray Rice thing. That was huge, right? When Ray Rice with his domestic violence. But we weren't really hearing about the ballers like doing that. Like, oh, I'm gonna have 10 kids. I remember you used to make a joke in college. That was actually happening more on the football side.
Like
remember
Travis Henry.
Like Travis Henry, he has like 10 kids. It was more on the base in football. We didn't really hear that in basketball. Basketball was like, yeah, they getting it, but it's like it wasn't like crazy. But the NFL was more crazy, to be honest, than back then. In the NFL,
I'm not disagreeing with you saying like yes, I agree that it's easier to connect.
Yes, now. A lot easier.
Just because something is easier doesn't mean that you need to put yourself in a position where you're like impregnating. Just because you have more options and it's more accessible doesn't mean that your decision making should change. You know what I'm trying to say?
I understand that, but don't other factors go into it? Like we don't know. Okay, so what I know of Anthony Edwards is, his mom died of cancer, right? So I think his bigger sister raised him, right? So he doesn't know his father. I mean, all that stuff factors in, right? Like, and look, these guys are 22, 23 years old. We're not talking about people that are our age, 40, 35, even 30. These guys are not even 25 yet, and they're doing this. So I get it. Like, they're immature. Like, these are young kids. They're kids still. I know they're adults, quote unquote, but they're young kids. Now, I'm not going to sit up here and give them a big pass. Like, they obviously have some responsibility to what's going on. But I do look at it like, okay, they're very young, like 22, 23. Like, this is the stuff that 22, 23-year-olds do. They're gonna make
you have a lot of money. I get it.
Exactly. And if you don't have a good guidance or somebody really showing you like, bro, don't do that. You ain't gonna want to do that. It's gonna be. Maybe they don't have that. Nobody's telling them like, bro, nah, that's not the right way to go. I think when LeBron and Melo came in, you had those vets, right? That was telling like, bro, you don't want to do that, right? And I'm sure there's stories out there of them doing stuff. We just don't know about it. It's hidden, right?
No, I'm not painting them as perfect people. I was just saying I don't think every young star that comes into the league is just like, yo, let me just go do my thing with all these different women. I don't think they're all built that way. I don't.
No, they're not. Yeah. But I would say I think maybe half. Maybe not even majority. At least probably half are. I mean, listen, bro.
I'm not gonna deny like, yo, it must be tough. Like you have beautiful women. You have $200 million in your bank account and beautiful women coming after you pretty much every day. Like I know that can't be easy, yeah. Especially for
like how we always talk about with girls on Instagram that like their DMs must be crazy. Imagine their DMs. Imagine what they're seeing, hearing, what pictures they're getting, what video. Like, bro, it's social media. It has created, like I said,
created a monster almost. Yeah.
Exactly. Social media does some good things, but it's also had some bad effects on people. And I just think when you talk about the old era, they had a little advantage because they didn't have to deal with that as far as like, you had to physically be there to meet them, right? So they didn't have the easy access. Same thing if they want to meet a girl. Now they could probably meet a girl because they're NBA players and they can go out anywhere, but they have to physically.
All you gotta do is go to a nightclub.
Exactly. They have to physically go and meet them. They didn't know that girl. Dude, they are knowing probably, these stars today are probably knowing girls before they even met them. Like it's instant access through any social media platform, whether it's X, Instagram, TikTok, you name it. That's how, it's easy now. It's they had it where you, like you said, you had to go to a nightclub. You still have to go somewhere to meet these women. Yeah. So Melo and LeBron, I would take out because he's been with Savannah.
Yeah, we can use different names too. I just threw two young stars as an example.
Yeah, just take somebody like who was like, a Bosh or a all those guys that were young, Darren Williams, all those guys. Yeah, they had to actually go and meet girls at a club. Like, so they had to physically go and then that's maybe the first time they see them. They're not seeing them on a gram or anything. That wasn't there. So I think, unfortunately, these kids have a lot more put on them and coming at them that they have no idea or they're not prepared for. They're just not prepared. You know what I mean? Nobody's taught them, bro, okay, you're going to get a lot of women that come at you. You're going to have to, have self-restraint. But you're telling that to a 22, 23-year-old that just got out of college, and I'm sure
I haven't had the money part, but I've been young and in college, and I get the temptation for sure.
Yeah,
but it doesn't mean that your decision making can't be better.
I agree. I just think unfortunately they don't have the people around them to curtail that or telling them good advice or really, really showing them a good path. Right? Mm-hmm. I think those guys back then, we had vets, and it's talked about today in the NBA where the vets back then are different. Like, a lot of these guys don't have vets. A lot of the teams are all young. Remember in 2003 and the early 2000s, during the Lakers' dominant years, there was always those vets like on teams. Like, oh, they got that. They got that guy. They got that guy. So they were those voices in the locker room, I'm sure, with the young guys telling them, like, nah, bro, you're not going to do that. We're not going to do that. You know what I mean? So they had it a little better than they have it now. Yeah, but again, I'm not absolving them from any responsibility because, it takes two. You still make the decision, but I think, if we were talking about a 30-year-old or somebody that's in their late 20s doing this, then I might be like, yeah, you know what, you're right. I can't really. But these are 22, 23-year-olds we're talking about. Yeah. Fresh coming in the league. They only been, you know what I'm saying? I just know how I was at 22. You know what I mean? I know how you was at 22. So it's like without the access, we didn't have the access, and we know how we was at 22. They have, like you said, $200 million in a bank account, all these apps, all this social media. Bro, I ain't gonna lie, I'll probably be the same. I ain't gonna lie to you. You know how I was in college. You know how I got down. So I mean, it is what it is. I mean, you know.
Well, we'll see, man. I'm wishing these young men the best of luck. Real quick,
yeah, best of luck.
Something else, real quick, before we move on to some NFL talk with the Nuggets firing Mike Malone. Like, they just won a title in 2023. The Nuggets' first title. I mean, the playoffs were starting in less than a week. Jamal Murray's been hurt for a little bit, and they're hoping that he can come back in the first round. But I mean, I think Mike Malone had done a really good job. The Lakers would agree with that. They've had some trouble getting past them.
Right.
We won't have to spend too long on this. Obviously, it happened a few days back, but man, I mean, this has got to be an embarrassment at this point, because if you look at teams like the Lakers after firing Frank Vogel after they won a title the year or two before, same with Budenholzer with the Bucks, they fired him after winning a title a year or two before. Numerous teams that have done this.
The Memphis coach.
Yeah, and I know they didn't win a title, but like they were a good team.
Adrian Griffin, I think, last year? Right, with the Bucks
for Doc Rivers, it's like
exactly, which made it. You went from that to worse to me.
Yeah, but like, what did you think about the Mike Malone firing? Like, how disappointed were you by that?
Yeah, all those things we brought up. I think we had a private conversation, but we had a chat. We had a group chat with some other friends of ours, and I was just basically saying that this is why I don't like watching the NBA sometimes, because it's like the impatience of some of these teams and ownership, they're not realistic goals. They're not realistic. Like, you're not going to win the title every year, okay? So there's no more dynasties anymore. You're not going to get 11 in a row Celtics, right? You're not going to see the Bulls.
Even 3 in a row is hard.
Exactly. LeBron, who's as great as he is, has never done a three-peat. He's done only back-to-back once in his career. You know what I mean? Tim Duncan, back-to-back, right, once, I believe, in his career. It's hard to do 3. Like, you're not going to get these dynasties.
Actually, did Tim Duncan even ever go back to back?
Yeah, then they do, wasn't it didn't they do 03 and 04? No, 04 was the Pistons.
Yeah, it's crazy. I think he's won 5 titles. He's never won back to back.
That's crazy. Yeah, that's crazy.
Because the Spurs, they won in 2003, 2005, 2007, 2000, and they won in 2014. Yeah, so they never went back to back.
That's what I'm saying.
They went back to back, but they didn't beat the Heat the second.
Right. So my thing is, you saw back then, like, right. So you named like the Spurs. That's a good example, right? Like, right. They were winning like every other year. So imagine I'm firing Pop after the year that he hadn't won a title, and
That's pretty much what these teams have done. Yeah,
right. This is crazy. Like my whole thing is I would love to sit down with the owner, GMs, in the organization and question and say, what are your expectations of your team, right? Do you think your team is a dynasty thing? Like, oh, they should be winning 3 in a row? Or like, hey, no, I think we can win a title. Not every year, but we're contenders every year, which is the goal, just to be a contender every year, which is fine. And that's fine for the fan base. The fan base, yes, would they love to see you win like 2 or 3 in a row? Great, yeah, but they're not going to be like, oh, man.
No fan was saying fire Mike Malone, man.
No, that's what I'm saying. There was no pressure from the public because remember, back then, Kwab, you remember like when we were coming up, most time when coaches got fired, it was like pressure from the public, right? Fans like saying, get rid of this guy. It was never
like a star player. Like star player don't get along.
There you go. Right. They were the influence. It was never like, oh, we're just going to fire him because, yeah, we think we can get somebody better. It was never that. It was like always public pressure or the star player. Now they just do it, and you're like, it doesn't make any sense. You're like, well, wait a minute. You guys were 4th in the West, and you fired your coach, a week before the playoffs? Come on, man. This doesn't make any sense.
It makes you wonder if, like, were there some internal issues? Like, it couldn't have just been he woke up one day to coach.
Okay, I'll give you that. Let's just say there was. And I think I heard it was, right? Why not wait till the end of the season?
I agree.
What is you putting in the interim coach who has no head coaching experience a week before the playoffs? Do you think that's going to make a difference? Oh, now we're going to the title now. No. It probably made it a lot worse.
You don't make that move with a week left in the season.
No.
Now, especially when you're still battling from anywhere from a 3 or a 2 to like a 6. Like they still could have got like the 2 or like maybe like the 3 seed.
Exactly. Yeah, I don't think they get the 2 seed, but 3 seed they could have got.
That's what I'm saying. So like, why would you then just be like, all right, well, hey, by the way, we're also missing our second best player. But right, you're out.
Right. Exactly. That doesn't make any sense. Could you imagine the Bulls firing Phil Jackson after Mike left, and then they went to the second round like, oh yeah, now you're gone, like, and then Mike came back, like that wouldn't make any sense. You'd be like, well, he's not the problem. Like, yeah, you're the greatest player of all time just left, and yeah, that's why they didn't win. Like, yeah, they didn't have Mike.
Yeah, just very, very strange. It makes you wonder if the commission is going to look into. I don't know what he can look into. I don't know what Adam Silver can look into, but like, there's just been way too many instances of this happening shortly after a championship, and we've never seen this in the NBA before, man.
Can you name any sport?
I feel bad for whoever's going to win the title this year. They might be out soon.
Right, exactly. Right. You think as a coach, remember we used to say like coaches, like when they win a title, they have like a 5.
They should have a window.
They have a window like 5 years, probably, maybe.
Like, if you're terrible, like you win 18 games the next year or two, like, all right, well, they've been terrible. But like, bro, if you're making the playoffs consistently after winning a title, now you shouldn't go anywhere.
No, because I was gonna say I was trying to transition to the NFL. Has this ever happened in the NFL where?
Well, people can say that about Doug Peterson with the Eagles. I know.
Yes,
it was shortly after. Now, ultimately, I guess it ended up working out fine for the Eagles, and we thought it was working out fine for the Jags. But they were good. They made the playoffs the first year with Peterson. Then, like, I don't know what happened to that team, because remember, at one point the next season after they made the playoffs in his first year as Jags coach, they were like the 1 seed in the AFC for at like week 9. Like, oh, they're like 8-3 or 9. Then they just lost like every game, and then they've just been terrible since.
Yeah. And there
are too many examples in the NFL of that. I don't.
Well, of course, I hate to use my team as an example. Jerry fired
so long ago, but yeah, that's how long you have to go to find another example. Like,
right. I mean, he fired Jimmy Johnson after winning a Super Bowl.
I will say this about the NFL. Typically, it's not all the time. Typically, when a coach gets fired, we see it coming. It's like like he was on the hot seat this year.
Right. Exactly.
I think what's the last NFL coach that got fired? We're like, whoa, he got fired. I'm sure there's one over the last 5.
Well, maybe Peterson's probably the last one we were kind of.
You thought the Eagles fans, they weren't that surprised by it. They weren't.
How? Okay, see, that's another thing too. Some fans are very unrealistic too, and I hate to say, look, I know the fans are a big part or whatever, but some of these fans out here are very unrealistic about their team, right? Like, so I'm glad you wrote like the Eagles, right? So before Peterson got there, you guys had not won a Super Bowl at all, ever.
No, none, 0.
Right? So you fire a guy, I think it was 2 years after he won it, right? Was it 2 years?
Yeah, I think it was 2.
Yeah. So you fire the guy 2 years after he wins it, and y'all acting like y'all were back then some team that had a dynasty. Like, oh, they didn't won, you know, 3 in a row, or they won back to back before. No, that was your first title. So, and look, I'm not gonna clown Harry Roseman because he's done a great job. Obviously, like you said, it worked out. They won the Super Bowl last year, so I guess he knows what he's doing. But I just thought it still wasn't good, like how it was presented or treated, like, and what Eagles fans like talking about they weren't surprised, bro. Y'all were not a prestigious franchise. Maybe now you are because you won in the last 5 years, but you were not some prestigious franchise that was like, oh, y'all are winning all these Super Bowls. No, so it's like it. So I do have another example. I just thought about it in my head. Remember when the Cubs fired Madden?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was like a couple years after they won the World Series. That was another one. I was like, wait a minute. You guys hadn't won a World Series in 108 years.
I don't think they've even been that good since then.
No, they haven't. They're like irrelevant now. Like nobody even talks about them.
Joe Madden should have had that job till he died.
Like, I agree. They hadn't won in 108 years and you fired him? Come on, bro.
Well, remember, look, we're not gonna act like we like baseball. We're not like maybe baseball fans have a better explanation for this next one. But even with the Red Sox with like Francona, I always thought like, well, why did they get rid of Francona?
How many did he win there? 2 or 3?
I think he won 2.
So you fire a guy that won you multiple championships,
2 titles.
Yeah, like I said, man, I don't know what goes on in these meetings with these franchises, with the organizations, and then like I said, I'm gonna get on the fans too. Like, you guys are some of the most impatient people ever. Like, get rid of them after like a year. Like, huh? Like, yeah, that was dog. He had 1 bad year. He just won you the title the year before that. Like, relax.
Yeah, Francona won. He won two titles with the Red Sox after they didn't win one in in how long? 100 years?
Yeah.
They won in 2004. They won in 2007. And then, they ended up firing him in 2011.
Makes zero sense to me.
He made the ALCS the year after he won his second title. So it's not like they were like bad or like just randomly bad.
So did they fire him after he made the ALCS? Did they fire him after that?
ALCS, then he made the ALDS. And then his last 2, he didn't make the playoffs in 2010. They had a winning record, and then they won 90 games in 2011. They didn't make the playoffs, and then they fired him.
Oh, so that's why he had 2 seasons when he didn't make the playoffs.
Oh, I'm sorry. After they didn't win one for 100 years.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Yeah.
That's true. No, I mean, no. And then I'm not justifying because I still think it's bad. But I guess I'm more on the ones that, like, after they had winning seasons, right? Like, oh, they had a winning season. Oh, you're fired, though. Huh? Like, yeah, but I just had a winning season. I just went y'all chipped it like 2 years ago. So
the Mike Malone one was crazy, bro.
Yeah, bro. Crazy. Like you said, even Nuggets fans weren't even asking for that. So this is all a organization, like team, like. And I'm sorry, bro. The Nuggets, that was their first chip too. Like
ever.
Like you acting like you guys win all the time. Like no, you guys are just starting to win. Why would you not want to keep that? Like I don't get the thinking of it. Like if I'm an owner and I know we've been bad or like mediocre for most years, and then now we're starting to be good, and then our coach wants us a chip. Yeah, you have a long string with me at least.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, you have a long string. Like okay, well that's fine. Like. Those were competitive and always competing. Like, if you get to the NBA Finals one year and lose, like, oh, we're good. Like, I'm not going to fire you. Only one team can win it. That's another thing. Fans don't get that either, or organization. Only one team can win, right? Y'all act like it's multiple teams that can win. That's not how sports works. Only one team can win. So you have to be realistic. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
and like, I'll give you props with the Cowboys. You don't have unrealistic expectations. You feel like with the talent that they've had over the last, like, get to a title game. You're not saying it's a failure if we don't win the Super Bowl.
Right.
You would be like, yo, it sucks. We lost in the title game. But, like, man, maybe after that you would expect maybe Super Bowl.
Exactly.
But, dude, every year there's probably a handful of teams that have Super Bowl expectations. Like, as a Steeler fan, I haven't had Super Bowl expectations probably in the almost 8-9 years now. Like, you know what I mean? Other seasons, I'm like, oh, it'd be nice to make the playoffs, like maybe win a playoff game. I'm just trying to get to the divisional round at this point. It's been,
and to be honest, you want to talk about my team, you can argue that they kept coaches too long. Like, remember when Garrett? Like, bro, they kept Garrett for 10 years. He was going 8-8, 8-8, 8-8. Like, they've done the opposite where you're like, bro, he should have been
time to move on.
Yeah, he should have been. Why was he there for 10 years? Yeah, like how many? He only had like 2 or 3 winning seasons out of 10.
Yeah, I think Garrett had a longer leash too because he also played there and he was really really well liked by management, by even the players liked him too. So really nice guy. Yeah, that definitely kept him there an extra 4 years.
That's what I'm saying. I'm like, yeah, why are we still keeping this dude? Like that's what I'm saying. Like, then you have the opposite effect, right? When teams keep coaching, like, why is he still there now? Like, like Mike Malone had been with the Nuggets for 10 years, and you saw the improvement every year. Like, you go back, look at his coaching record when he started coaching the Nuggets. Like, I think his first year he didn't make the playoffs. Then they started making the playoffs. They, he went a first round. Then they what I mean? They were pretty consistent. Like, I'm not understanding this. Like, I really don't get it. But you
want to keep your job, don't win a title.
That's really
how it goes. He's made the playoffs 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and it would have been 7 straight seasons. And he got fired,
bro. So his first 3 years, they didn't make it.
His first 3 years, no, his first 2 seasons with Denver, they did not make it. No, his first 3 seasons, right? And then they made it in 2018. They lost in the conference. They lost in the semifinals, and they lost in the conference finals. And then they won a title, and obviously in 2020, the 2022.
That's my thing. Like, if that was the time to fire him, would have been after the first 3 years. Like, okay, you're not getting it done. So I would understand that. I'm like, okay, you gave him 3 years, right? He didn't get it done. That would have been the time. But once you started to see the consistency and the improvement, it's like, no, I'm not firing this guy.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Well, no.
So speaking of getting fired, that's what could happen to Deshaun Watson. So the Jimmy Haslam, the Browns owner, what a disaster that organization is. But anyway, he came out and recently said with Deshaun, in regards to Deshaun Watson, we took a swing and it was a big miss.
Mm-hmm.
Did he need to say that to the public? Probably not. But again, it's not anything that none of us didn't know already.
Right, exactly.
So I say all that to ask, do you think Deshaun Watson still has a future in the NFL? Like, what now? Do you think we've seen him play his last football?
I think so. I mean, he looked like, okay, I know he got hurt last year, but before that, Kwab, he looked absolutely terrible. When we were texting each other, I was like, dude, he doesn't even look like an NFL quarterback. He looks like I don't even think he looked like a backup at this point. I was like, bro, he's like on third string on the cusp of like, should not be in the league anymore. Like, yeah, you shouldn't be in the league, bro. You just don't have it. Like, bro, he looked absolutely terrible. And this is attitude too. Like, a lot of it, like, he was just blaming other people. You saw like the stuff on the sideline. I'm sure when they were talking about it, like, he would like not listen to the coach, disregard him, walk off the field, wouldn't talk to the play, or start blaming the play. Like, bro, you're not good. You haven't been good since you got there.
You
like,
lost some accountability,
Exactly, bro. Like, I mean, I think he's looked at his last football because, I mean, I know he came out with the statement saying like, oh, well, I'm going to be, come back better than ever. No. Not from what
that rhetoric is so old. Ain't nobody.
It is. Not only that.
You were Deshaun. Nobody's like, yo, you hear what he said? Like, oh, he's coming. Nobody's buying that.
So not only that, okay, when somebody says that, you give them the benefit of the doubt. You say, okay, so you go back to the previous season. You're like, oh, I don't know. You're big on this. I remember somebody like, oh, yeah, he didn't play that bad last year. Like, you saw, he actually had a pretty good season. So maybe, right? But dude, he was absolutely awful.
And even the year before that, when he didn't play the whole season, but he wasn't good there either. It's like, well, you haven't been good, dude. He hasn't been good in like 3 years. Yeah,
so there's no evidence of like again, did Haslam have to say that? Probably not. But it's like
he did not need to say
it's stuff we already knew.
That's such a Browns thing to do. Like,
but what I'm saying is like it's not like we didn't. You'd have to tell us that we knew that. Like even
we knew that.
Their fans and non-Browns fans, and they're like, oh yeah, he's.
But my question to Browns management, D, and maybe you can answer this better than me. Why would you say that to somebody still on your roster? Like, that's somebody like, oh,
no, you're asking the wrong person. Remember, that's your division. You know them better than anybody, more than me.
It'd be different if, like, okay, oh wow, breaking news: the Browns released Deshaun Watson. Owner comes out and says, yeah, it was a mistake. It'd be like, oh wow,
yeah, that's
still on the he's still on the roster. Why would you?
I mean, that's just a mess altogether. Because who's going to be the quarterback? Like, okay, let's be realistic. Who is their quarterback next year? I mean, if it's him, they're done. We want to say, oh, they're going to be one of the worst teams. So, I mean, unless they're drafting a quarterback this year, or there's some surprise comes out of the nowhere where they trade for something like, oh, they traded. I mean, look, y'all can say what y'all want about Dak, but I know if they traded for Dak, Browns fans would probably be ecstatic.
Well, of course they would.
Yeah, they'd be like, oh yeah, because he's like a capable quarterback. You know what I mean? So. Yeah, like, I mean, what are you at this point? Because from what I'm hearing in the draft, you're not drafting a quarterback. So which is already to me a red flag. Like,
and this is another reason I don't be feeling bad for y'all Cowboy fans. Oh, we haven't made a title game since '95. Would you rather be a Cowboys fan or a Jets fan?
Cowboys.
Would you rather be a Cowboys fan or a Browns fan?
Yeah, Cowboys. Yeah, you're right.
It's like at least y'all have made what y'all did against Brady in Brady's last game of the Bucs. A Browns fan would kill for that. Like, yo, we get to beat Brady in the playoffs. Like, that'd be amazing. The Browns, so bad. Dog. They've had like a couple good. They're so bad that their good seasons, they still didn't make the playoffs. Remember with like Derek?
No, well, I'll give them that. So
the Baker, they had the Baker. They beat the Steelers. I'm talking.
I'm going to be honest with you. That was a mistake. They probably should have got rid of Baker. They didn't. They weren't patient. Yeah. They weren't patient with Baker. They wanted Baker to be good like right out the gate, and it was like, no, bro, he's one of these guys that let him cook for a little bit, and then you see what he's doing with the Bucs. They made a mistake with that, but that's the Browns. That's just such a Browns thing to do. Like, they get rid of a guy, he goes and balls out somewhere else. You know what I mean? Like, that's just a Browns thing that happens.
Would you rather be a Browns fan or a Jets fan?
Well, Jets, because the Jets at least with.
You sure?
No, because at least with the Rex Ryan years, they made the AFC Championship game twice.
15 years ago. Well, then closer. It's more recent than the Browns.
Yeah, when did the Browns make the AFC Championship game? Like, never. Like that Baker. Listen, the Baker game. Remember that they did give Kansas City a little game in that second round.
A little bit.
They did. So I'll give them that. But dude, they haven't been. Yeah, when have they ever been to the AFC Championship game? Like, ever. Like, I know obviously it's been like 30 years for us, but like, you're right. At least we're like, you're like hopeful still. Like, oh yeah, we got a little hope. You know what I mean?
The last time the Browns won their division, do you know the last time they won the division? The Browns. Take a guess.
Was it before the Ravens became the Ravens?
Well before that. Well before that, bro.
Oh no! So that was like the original Browns.
Dude, they haven't won their division since 1989. That's the last time the Browns won. So the Browns, you have never in your life seen a Browns AFC North Championship T-shirt. You have never seen.
Because the year when Baker went, what did they finish second in the division?
Yeah, I believe they finished second in the division.
Okay,
because they beat the Steelers in the wild card round.
Right, but that's another thing. So okay. So I'm kind of a Baker fan. So okay, as an organization, you saw that, right? You're like,
they finished third in the division.
Okay, but you saw Baker win a playoff game and then give the eventual champs a run, and y'all like, nah, we're good. Like, who says that to themselves?
Let's be fair though. Let's keep it real. In hindsight, it looks bad, but let's not act like we were always on the Baker bandwagon. And there are times I'm like, man, I don't know about Baker.
He wasn't here to play well, but I like to look at overall. Let's look at the whole picture, though, right? Let's not look at like just games. Like, oh, he played bad here. Yeah, quarterback's gonna have bad games. Yes, did he have some games where you're like, yeah, he just didn't look good, But he also had games where, like that playoff game, he looked like Montana against y'all. I was like, what is going on here? Even against the Chiefs, bro, he threw like 3 touchdowns. They lost. It wasn't his fault. Like, dude, he balled. Like, I'm like, oh, okay. Like, you see the promise there. And I get it. I know what you're saying about Baker. It was kind of more inconsistency. Like, you got that, but then it was like, oh, another game he'll throw 3 or 4 picks.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But again, that was better than any other quarterback you've had in the last 20 years. You can't name a quarterback that was better than Baker.
Longer than 20 years.
That's what I'm saying. You can't name me a Browns quarterback in the last 25 years that's better than Baker Mayfield. You can't. You can't.
It's not possible.
You can't. The guy went on the road and beat a division rival in the playoffs. That's impressive within itself. And the Steelers at that, who are mostly always great defensively, right? So they went there. Then they went into the eventual champs building, almost pulled off a win there. He was a drive away from beating them. So it's like, I'm sorry. If I see that as an owner, I'm going to be patient. I'm like, I think this kid got a little something. We just got to give it time. You know what I mean? But they're impatient. That's the problem. The Browns are one of the most impatient franchises ever. And they're so bad. It's like, you not only you're not patient, but then you make bad decisions on top of that.
And they had a swing and a miss with Deshaun.
Man. Exactly.
So TJ Watt had a post on IG couple days ago, he was throwing up the peace sign, and of course, Steeler Nation, and everybody's running away with, does this mean he's done as a Steeler? There's been some speculation of, could he get traded in the draft, especially if they're looking to draft a quarterback? If they're looking, do you include him in any draft packages? I mean, I'll start as a Steeler fan. I think. He's been one of the most dominant defensive players we've ever seen. Yeah, he's been awesome. He's slowed down a bit, especially towards the end of last season.
Do you think he's past his prime?
He's been a little nicked up. I'm not willing to say that quite yet. He's kind of dealt with some injuries. Of course,
I don't know off the bat. How old is he?
I think TJ Watt is 30. I think he's 30.
That's still pretty. Yeah, you're still going to be productive.
Let me just double check that. He's exactly 30. Yep.
Okay.
So yeah, he's 30. So yeah, I mean, he's been one of the most dominant players in the league the last 5-6 years. I still think he has a lot left in the tank.
Me too. Yeah.
I think he could give you double-digit sack seasons. He definitely slowed down towards the end of last year just due to a couple factors, injuries. Teams obviously blocked him a lot differently. They finally figured out we should consistently double team this guy.
Right.
But, I think. This is typical athlete behavior when they're probably not happy with their contract or they feel like they deserve an extension, which from everything I've read from Steelers insiders, he's going to get that extension. So I don't expect him to get traded. I think we know I don't know if you'll disagree with this. I would say the most three important positions for any team is, besides quarterback, of course, left tackle and pass rusher.
Yes.
Those are the three most important positions.
Yeah, because even like corners are important, but not as important as those.
You know how I felt about Steelers. They've just been like, you can have a cool corner, like they just because it's really
they're solid. They're solid.
Yeah,
they're solid.
You have good safeties. Yeah, you can just have like a solid corner.
Yeah, exactly. That's true.
You have to have a good look at some of the best teams in the league, like whether it's your Chris Joneses or just like you want to have a dominant pass rusher, man.
Right.
Aaron Donald for
Donald. Yeah.
He was freaking playing pretty much playing nose tackle as a pass rusher.
Right.
But yeah, man, I say all that to say I don't buy into the speculation that he may get traded. I just think he's unhappy with his contract. We know how athletes can act sometimes when they are. Would I be absolutely shocked? I wouldn't. But then I'd be like, all right, well, if you trade TJ Watt, you better get a hell of a package back. So
I know I was playing earlier with you, but now when I think about it, I think. Now I don't know if this would happen, but I proposed,
playing GM.
Yeah, that if the Cowboys were interested, you give up Micah, right?
Okay.
Because you don't have to pay Micah. Now you have to pay TJ, but TJ's not going to be the price tag that Micah would be because he's on kind of the back end of his career.
Yeah.
Right? Now I'm sure Cowboy fans would love this. You give up Dak, right?
Cowboy fans would love that?
I think so. Because you get rid of his contract, right? So you get rid of Dak, you ask for TJ, and I would say your first rounder this year and possibly next year. Yeah, I think that's a fair deal. TJ and 2 first rounders for Dak and Micah, because you're gonna give Micah the extension, and then we would still be on the hook for Dak's contract. I think you would still pay about, from what I understand, is you would still pay about like 60%, which is still a bargain because now that means you only have to pay him like. Instead of $60 million, you're only paying him $40 million, which in QB market is like a big steal. You know what I mean? Guys are getting paid $50 million. So we would probably pay – no, I'm sorry. Yeah. We would pay like 40 of it, and then we would pay like 20 million of it. So you still would get off good because you wouldn't have to pay him, QB market price because you're getting him from us, and we would still be paying part of it. Right.
And since we're playing hypotheticals here, who would y'all quarterback be?
I would say more than likely – I would say more than likely, if that was to happen, I would 100% guarantee I'd put my house up for Shador. Yeah, I put my house up for collateral to bet that. That's such a Jerry Jones move, like the big splash, Dion, and because here's the thing, bro. I'm gonna tell you this right now. If that was to happen, Dion's coaching the Cowboys in the future. That's not even.
A lot of people thought it happened this season,
right? Because then Brian Schottenheimer is going to be on a short leash. Because as soon as he f's up, Dion, come on. Because that's what it's such a Jerry Jones thing to set up. Like, okay, we'll give you Dak, we'll give you Micah, we'll pay Dak's $20 million, pay about $20 million of Dak's contract. You guys get the rest. You have to obviously extend Micah, but you're getting Dak at a bargain because you're only paying him $40 million.
Right,
so that's still a bargain. You know what I mean? And that still frees you up to guys to go after other guys. Even though I know you're now paying DK Metcalf, you still have room to still get other guys down the road.
I'm very curious what our listeners are going to think about your trade proposal. I'm very curious.
I mean, some of them may think like, oh, Darren's just saying whatever whatever. It's not going to happen. But really just seriously think about it, because it kind of works for both teams, because you get Dak at a bargain. Now you're going to have to pay Micah, but Micah's not a quarterback. So even if you give him $40 million, it's like, oh, okay, you gave him $40 million. You only paying your quarterback $40 million. And then you're paying DK. DK is making like $30 million, I think, a year. I mean, he's right in that wide receiver range. You know what I mean? So those are really the only two people you're paying at market value, and your most important position, you're getting a discount. Then again, that still frees up, cap space for you guys. Then with us, it frees up a lot of cap space. So we don't have to pay our quarterback. We get Shador. We don't have to pay a quarterback. That means now you can give TJ his extension next year. Now it can be a free for all. I don't hear nothing about free agency of you not going after nobody next year, because you guys would have unlimited. We would have unlimited money to go after whoever we wanted, because it's like we're only paying Micah and Trayvon, I think. Oh, and CD. You're paying 3 guys, and they're non quarterback positions. So, I think it works out for both, but I don't think it's gonna happen.
No, right? Watch it happen. And you're like, yo, D was the first. This clip's gonna go viral. Like, if D was the first person to call this.
Yeah,
movie,
bro. Yeah, like if it happens, I wouldn't be mad at it. I would not.
That's gonna be our big break when this prediction comes true. Like, whoa.
Yeah. Listen, I have no insider knowledge. I don't know the Steelers people. I don't even know the Dallas people. It's just something when I saw it, I texted Kwab. I was like, well, what do you think about this? And I remember, okay, I'm glad we brought this. So when you text me, you said, I would love to take you. When I added Dak, you're like, oh, I want Dak. Would you not want Micah?
Oh, no. Well, I assume you said Mike. I would definitely want Mike, especially if you're losing somebody like
when I texted you, you said, oh, no, I definitely would want Dak. And I was like, oh, so these are not what I thought. Maybe you thought Micah maybe not worth the money for, Oh,
no, I think Micah's one of the best defense players in the league.
Okay, gotcha.
I don't love him on like social media and stuff, but
of course, yeah. Whatever. But you have a great coach. I think he would corral that. Tomlin would.
Yeah. No, Mike could be awesome. Mike could be awesome, and he's the exact type of player the Steelers love. Like,
right.
And he might be even slightly more. Well, you would hope that they use him the same way that the Cowboys use him, because the problem with TJ at times is they don't. And TJ has mentioned that he wishes they would use him a little. They'd be a little more versatile with him. They just use him as the primary pass rusher from the left side every time.
Right.
Put him on different parts of the line. Put him,
the Cowboys would definitely do that with TJ.
That's the thing. I think you guys do the good job with Mike in that now. And then, because they have Alex Highsmith on the other side for the Steelers, who I actually like. So maybe that's why they don't do it. But they just don't get as creative anymore defensively. Honestly, that's been the case for a while, ever since LeBeau left. I'll be honest with you. So
but we'll see, man. Yeah, if I'm right,
yeah, man, you're gonna get paid.
They'll bring me in as an insider or
So. All right, D. Well, we got one more thing to touch on before we wrap things up here. This was really interesting, man. Right up our alley. So, Billboard, they'll every once in a while they come out with these lists, top this, top 25 this. So they came out with a list of the top 25 female rappers of all time. I wanted to get your thoughts on this list. Who was too high? Who was too low? Did you think they did a good job?
No. First of all, let's start at 1. No, Nicki Minaj is not the greatest female rapper of all time. And I don't care if the barbs come after me on social media and all that. They can. Yeah, F you. I would love to say the other word, but this is a family program. But no, Nicki Minaj is not the greatest female rapper of all time. If you like, we can FaceTime each other. I would say it in your face as well if you think I wouldn't. So, yeah, she's not the greatest female rapper of all time. To be honest, I think it's disrespectful to have her at number 1. Because now, of albums, so here's how I look at Nicki Minaj. Nicki Minaj, to me, is a combination of Drake and 50 Cent. Like, they had their time, they had their run, they make great songs, and they chart. Yeah, they're going to have these great singles. But when it comes to their albums, you're like, She's almost like Jadakiss in a way with the albums. Like, can you name me a classic Nicki Minaj album? You can't.
I know Pink Friday, her first album, was probably still her best
really
one.
Good. It's good, right? And I was going to say that. I'll give her first. Her first album was really good, but after that, it goes pretty downhill.
You have not been feeling any of her other albums.
No, Woman Reloaded is awful. It sucks. Like, that album is awful. It's one of the worst albums I've ever heard in my life, to be honest with you. And then, all right, let's go through her other albums, right? So you have Pink Friday, good. I will give you that. Great. I actually thought it was really good. You know what I mean? It's not a classic, but it's really good. Roman Reloaded is trash.
So
I don't
get not a good album.
No.
You're not feeling Roman Reloaded.
Pink Print was To be honest, like once you get after Reload, they're all They're like They're
but
like
Pink Print wasn't. You didn't think Pink Print was bad. It was just whatever.
It was just Yeah. Same thing with Queen. Queen was I mean, to be honest, a lot of people don't even like Queen. A lot of Nicki Minaj said something. Queen is awful. They think that's her worst album. I just thought it was okay. And then her last one, Pink Print 2, that was garbage too. Like that wasn't good. Like I feel like Nicki Minaj had a great 8-year run of like good songs. You know, she had a good run. But her as the greatest female rapper of all time, no. So I have my list, and I don't know if you have one, Kwab, but I have my list of who I think are really.
Before we get into this list, I do want to go over who they had in their top 5.
Sure. Yeah.
5. Okay. You know what? I'll even just quickly run through the top 10. So at number 10, scroll real quick. At number 10, they had Foxy Brown. Number 9 was Eve. 8 was Roxanne Shante. 7 was Salt and Pepper. 6 was MC Lyte. 5 Queen Latifah. 4 Lil Kim. 3 Lauryn Hill. 2 Missy Elliott, and then 1 was Nicki Minaj.
Yeah, I even have an issue with Missy Elliott. As much as I love Missy Elliott, and so Missy Elliott to me is more of a performance, right? Like she wasn't a great lyricist or rapper, but she changed the whole way we look at music videos. You know what I mean? So I give her credit for that. She revolutionized like how we look at music videos, like the whole theatrics, and she had that garbage bag on her. You know what I mean? Like, I know that everybody.
She also like the music was dope too.
No, the music was. I was saying the beats were knocking. She wasn't a great lyricist. She wasn't like, oh, you never said, oh, yo, Missy, you heard that verse?
Yeah,
Missy, nobody ever said that about Missy. But she was revolutionary as far as her performance and the videos and her dancing choreography. She gets major props for that. But if we're just talking about hip hop, rap, like straight lyrics, no, she's nowhere near even in a top 10 to me. You know what I mean?
Right. Okay. So influence and impact / influence, you think she should be way up there as far
Correct.
as
Now we're gonna just put it as that. Yes, I can see that you could put her top 5 or top 10 just as far as her influence. No doubt, I would never dismiss it as far as her influence to hip hop, just in general. Forget it just about female. Like I said, to me, she revolutionized how we looked at music videos, the choreography of dancing and stuff. Yeah, that's all her. But yeah, if you're just talking about straight lyrics, hip hop, nah, she not. I don't know if she even wrote her own stuff. To be honest, I have to go back and look at some of her, the discography and be like, did she write that? Because yeah, I mean, she was never like blowing me away lyrically. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
but
I feel you. I agree.
Yeah. So okay, here's my now. Who's 3?
3 is Lauryn Hill.
Okay, so I have Lauryn Hill in my top 5. So in my top 5, I have Lil' Kim as the GOAT for me. I think
I like that. I think that's a strong argument.
And I'm gonna give you reasons why I have these people. I'm not just gonna be like, oh, this is it, and that no explanation. To me, Lil' Kim started the whole women empowerment, right? Talking about sexuality, bringing that out. Don't get me wrong, Salt and Pepper, Queen, they talked about it too, but more in Trina. Yeah, but Trina's more of like Lil' Kim's era too. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, but I think Lil' Kim came a little before Trina, a little bit. She did, yeah. So I think Lil' Kim really gave that women empowerment, like talking about men ain't shit and talking about their body, and they could be sexy and be sexual, but doing that still with having good lyrics, still like spitting, like, oh, okay, she could spit though.
Now you said earlier that Missy, you don't know if Missy wrote a lot of her own music. I don't think, but I don't. That doesn't matter as much to me because like it.
No, Kim. So let me put this rumor to bed. I don't know why people said it. So there was always this rumor that Kim never wrote her lyrics, that Big wrote her lyrics. That's not the truth, because
I think it was people specifically talking like the hardcore era though, like that Kim. That Big.
I have to go back and look. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we have to go back and look at that, because to me, hardcore is a classic. So that's another thing. Just getting back to when I was talking about Nicki Minaj, Lil' Kim has classics, like, you know what I mean, like more than one, and then she has good albums. Like, I would say Lil' Kim for like a 4 album. She had a good like a 4 album run. You're like, damn, she's it. You know what I mean? Because remember, Big was only alive for her first album.
Hardcore.
Then after that, she was still putting out good albums after Big died. So I doubt somebody in Junior Mafia was writing her lyrics. You know what I mean? So
no,
that's why I just think it's right. Exactly. It's unfair to be like, oh well, she never wrote her. No, Now I will say, Kwab, I'll go back and look to see about hardcore. You may be right because I didn't know.
You made a good point though, because after Big died, like she was still coming out with good albums without
exactly,
Big, so.
And that's what I'm saying.
Big wrote some hardcore, which I think is fine.
Right?
Yeah, that's okay.
Yeah. So I have to go back and look, but yeah, I put Kim at 1 because I just think she started this whole the Cardi B's, the Megans, the Glows, the ones what they're talking about now. Kim was doing that in the mid 90s. Yeah. Mm-hmm. She started that in the mid 90s. And I'm gonna be real with you, bro. Going back to Nicki Minaj, she kind of at first used to copy a lot of Kim's aura, persona. That's what people said. They were saying like, "Yo, she's trying to be Kim." So that's why I never really respected Minaj. Like, I'm like, "Well, you trying to be the second version of Lil Kim."
Didn't they have beef too?
They did have beef because I think that's what Kim's beef was. Like, "Yo, you're trying to be me." And let's keep it 100. Whether you're a Nicki Minaj fan or not, those early days of Nicki Minaj, she was trying to be Kim. You know what I mean? That's who she wanted to be. That was her person she looked up to. She wanted to be a carbon copy, but she wasn't Kim. So, you know what I mean? So
I think another person from Little Kim's era that should also get a lot of props for her influence is also Foxy Brown.
Foxy Brown. I was going to say that. Yeah. Foxy's not in my top 5, but she's in my top 10. You know what I mean? No, Foxy for sure. Because her and Kim were like really came around the same time. You know what I mean?
Her album's arguably a classic too.
Oh, Nana? Yeah, I agree. And that's another thing. Like I'm when I go through this list, I'm looking at albums. When I look at you as a female rapper, you have to have good albums. You can't just have one good album and then the rest are just trash. Like you got to give me like consistency, multiple albums. I'm like, yo, she's getting it on it. So I told you Kim's number 1. 2, I got MC Lyte. Dog. I mean, I know she kind of goes back in the day, but if we're talking about albums, Light as a Rock, Eyes on Us, Act Like You Know, she had those 3. If you talk to people from our brother's era, ask Questy when we get off here about those albums. Even I asked my brother, I think some years ago about the dog. Light was like that.
You could argue Light is still probably the best female lyricist.
I agree. People were saying Light was on par with dudes back in the day.
She was.
Talk to my brother. Talk to his brother. Like, bro, they were saying Light was on par with like some dudes back in the day. Like that. She was killing dudes back in the day. It wasn't even about no females. Like, no, she's just a great lyricist. Period. Mm-hmm. So I got Light at 2. At 3, I got Queen. Ain't really much to say. I mean, Black Rain, all hail to the Queen. You talking about songs like Ladies First.
Yep.
Yeah, Unity, Just Another Day. Those are
another super influential rapper.
Right, influence. Like when you talking about influence, just I mean, dog, she's what she's done from then and then gone into acting. How she's evolved. Like Queen's influence, you can't dismiss it. So you have to have her in the top 5. To me, if you give me a top 5 and Queen ain't in it, I'm really not listening to you. I'm like, yeah, bro, I'm good on your list. So whether you're a woman or a guy, I'm like, yeah, I'm good on your list. At 4, I got Rhapsody. I think Rhapsody, to me, as far as lyrically, if we talking about these new girls,
oh yeah, she's awesome.
She's the best out of everybody of these new girls. When we talking about, I love Glow, I love Megan, I love Cardi, even a Doja Cat. Doja Cat is dope too. And I'll give you props for putting me on a Doja Cat.
I like her. She's a little weird, but I like her.
Yeah,
like her a lot.
But Rhapsody, I don't think any of them girls are seeing Rhapsody lyrically. None. I mean, when we can argue Rhapsody's also on a good run right now. She doesn't have one bad album. If we go from Idea from Beautiful to Please Don't Cry, bro, there's no female rapper seeing that.
She was 17th on this list,
which is crazy. Like, I mean, but I understand they're going off of they're going off of album sales, so I get that. They're not going off of just discography.
It's a combination of album sales and like impact. I think
okay.
Yeah, I think it's a combination of the two. I mean, because you got to think about it. They got like, if it was strictly about album sales, I don't think what's her name, like Roxanne would be like 8th all time. You know what I mean?
That's true.
Now, impact and influence and skill set, she probably deserves that spot. I don't know her music as thoroughly as I know some of these other artists. Obviously, she's early 90s. You know what I mean? But if you
late 80s,
yeah, late 80s, early 90s,
yeah. And then 5, I got Lauren. I only have her at 5 because of just the one album, even though it's one of the greatest albums of any genre, because she spit is just as good as she's sang. Lauren could have been, I think, so out of this list, Lauren from talent and potential should be number 1. I look at her as like what could have been, right? Like,
yeah.
You know what I mean?
Should have been number one.
Number one, right? I think if you talk to anybody that knows hip hop, whether woman, girl, even men have said like Lauren had the potential to be a top 5 MC, regardless of man or woman. You know what I mean? That's how talented she was. That's how good she was at her peak. So that's the only reason I have her 5. Because at one point I used to think Lauryn Hill was number 1 even over Kim. I was like, well, as far as lyrically and
she ain't got enough work. She ain't got enough work to be 1, man.
Exactly. So that's why I have her
over Kim.
That's why I have her at 5. I don't really have a top 10, but like I said, I would have Foxy in my top 10.
Yeah.
Roxanne Shantae's a little before my time. Like you said, I don't really know a lot of her music. Now my brother said she was dope. She wasn't like an MC Light dope, what they think about MC Light, but she was dope for, her time, especially as far as women. Another rapper I didn't see on the list that people sleep on that was dope was Bahamadia, that nobody talks about.
Bahamadia was dope lyrically.
She was lyrically.
The lack of a deep discography maybe is what.
Yeah, that and then not enough promotion, maybe enough promotion as well.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, she was dope too. But and I like a lot of these new ones. Like I said, I like Glow, I like Megan, I like Cardi, I like Doge. You know what I mean? Like I think they're all dope. I think where they were on the list is fair because they're still sort of newer. I mean, you know what I mean? Even though they've had a few albums, they're still sort of new. So they're not on par with those other ladies I mentioned. But yeah, man, that's just my list. Like I said, I didn't think they got it right. The positioning of some were fine because they had some of the right girls in it. Yeah, go ahead and get your top 5. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Oh no, that's all good. Just real quick, like I agree with Kim number 1. I think the combination of impact, longevity, discography,
right,
lyrics. I think she's number 1. Like I think when I think of like the 90s, I think of her. She's actually probably, as far as when I started listening to hip hop, she's the first one that comes up for me.
Right.
Her big singles like "Crush on You." Like I always think of Kim.
Right.
I always think of Kim as number 1, and just like I loved her style. I loved even her wig game was dope. Like I just love everything.
Right.
Man. I loved everything about Kim. She was dope. I would put MC Light number 2. Now MC Light for me, just like from a lyrical perspective, I don't even think you need to talk greatest female, man. Like she's just up there, period. Like
exactly. That's why I said just forget about female. She's just of any. Like I said, my brother used to tell me she was on par with certain dudes. Like people were like, yeah, no, forget about female. She's killing some dudes in the game. Yeah, you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, for sure. Rhapsody is somebody that I think is another one, kind of like a total package, right? She hasn't, she's not as big as I feel like she should be. Like I feel like she should be a little bigger.
I agree. Yeah.
Skill set wise, she's awesome. I'd probably put her, I don't know if she's top 5 because I want to.
Okay.
Yeah, but I think she's up there. You know, rapper for me. I know you liked her, but I've always been really big on her. I actually really liked Eve. I feel like Eve had a.
I forgot about Eve. I'm sorry. Yes, Eve has had a big influence too. Yeah,
Eve for me.
For about top 10, she's definitely in my top 10.
Eve is probably top 5 for me.
Gotcha.
I'm a big Eve. Because I think Eve also had the whole like package, right? Because one thing I liked about Eve too, and this is nothing against female rappers that talk, a lot about like sex and all that. She didn't really need to do that, but she still had like some sex appeal. Like, she and like that. She had a nice run. That like she was like she's like the 2000s rapper to me. Like that.
Yeah, I agree. Early 2000s.
When I first heard of her was when she was with the Rough Riders. What y'all want? Banger. Like she had the cornrows. Like, man, I've always.
I agree with you. Even though she. Right, didn't talk about sex. She still had sex appeal.
100%.
Like we still thought that was like good, like dope. Like she still looked all right. You know what I mean?
She was even really good at like with working with she like crossing over. Like remember she had a big hit with, like Gwen Stefani. And,
right.
Did a good job of kind of crossing over to kind of like rap pop as well, and she did a good job with that. So that was a big fan of Eve, man. I think the Eve is definitely one of my favorite female rappers for sure. Yeah. So I would probably have her in my top 5 as well. I don't have like I see Left Eye's on this list. See, Left Eye's tricky to me, right? Because like
she didn't really have a solo career.
Yeah, she didn't have a solo career. I think,
unfortunately, I'm sure her life was cut short.
Yeah, like I'll be honest with you. Like, should she have even been on this list? I don't know.
Yeah, because she didn't really have a solo career. Now she was a big influence as far as like in the '90s, like the girl group being the only girl, the rapper in the group.
Yeah,
kind of how Black Thought is with the Roots. Like I get it, but Left Eye was very, she played around a lot. Like she was good with she could rap, but it was just like she was like she went along with TLC. Their style was different, so she kind of went along with that and rapped like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think she was definitely an influence just because again in the '90s. We didn't really see those groups that had, especially women groups that like, oh, okay, you got two singers and then a rapper, right? Because remember, we didn't see that later on till Flowetry. When Flowetry came out, when you had Marsha Ambrose as the singer, I forget the Natalie. Natalie was the rapper. We got that later on. So I will give Left Eye props for that because that was kind of revolutionary. We hadn't seen that before. Because remember, Salt and Pepper, they both rapped. You know what I mean? So, and they deserve their props too. They definitely deserve their flowers.
Oh yeah,
you know what I mean? For sure.
Super influential.
Exactly.
You think of the '90s; they're one of the first people.
Yeah. They definitely.
I think Queen got to be top 5 too, man.
Thank you. Yeah, like I said, I'm not even listening to you. If you leave Queen out, I can't even rock with you as far as like just her impact and influence. Like she's the epitome of like influence. Like you're just talking about somebody who. 80s, 90s, even 2000s was still rapping. Now, as far as she wasn't selling like that, but even to today, when she raps, you're like, damn, Queen still got it. Like you're like, yo, she's one of those people when you hear her rap, still you're gonna listen. You're gonna be like, ooh, Queen still got that. You know what I mean? So
yeah, she does. Going back to Lauryn Hill real quick. So to me, I have trouble ranking her. It's like she's like it's like a female. It's like Biggie. It's like I needed a little bit more, and Biggie's not his fault, Whereas Lauryn Hill, that's kind of on her. Right. It's like, man, you were awesome, but it's just like I just wish I had more to go off of because the little that you gave us is so amazing.
I mean, dude, like I said, from a straight talent and from what she could have been perspective, Lauryn should be number one.
If you listen to the score, like she's spitting all throughout that album with the food.
Yeah, let's be real, bro. She was better than Wyclef and Pras. Anybody that says different, anybody that says different,
nobody's on debate.
Exactly. My brother told me that back when they came out. My brother was like, listen, she's the best in the group. That was back in the 90s they were saying that. So it's not even a question to today. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, man. I mean, that album, Miseducation Lauryn Hill, I mean, I bump that now. I have it on vinyl. Obviously, I have it, on my phone. I mean, it's one of the greatest albums I've ever heard in my life.
Remember, Billboard called it the greatest album ever.
No, that was Apple.
Oh, you're right. I'm sorry.
Apple. Yeah, Apple did. Yeah. I mean, it's one of the greatest albums I've ever heard in my life. From just singing and rapping equally as good. I mean, and you have every other
production wise. It's
yeah, man. I mean,
it's a flawless album.
It is. I mean, like, it wasn't shocking when she won the Grammy Album of the Year for. I was like, oh yeah, that. I mean, they call it one of the greatest albums of any genre. Mm-hmm. So you're right. I mean, Lauryn Hill is more of what could have been, and a lot of that is on her, just of how she went about her life. But she chose that way. But she should have been. Like I said, she had the potential to be that number one. You know what I mean?
When she dropped that verse on Nas's album on that song "Nobody." I remember you were like, "Bro," I feel like that was a proud moment for you. You're like, man,
I went to work. I don't know if I told you the story. So I went to work that day. Right, this is when I was still living in New York. I was living in Jersey. I went to work, and I was telling people at work about it. I was like, "Dog, have you heard the new Nas album?" And they're like, "Yeah, I've heard it's dope." And then I was like, "Dog, you have to listen to the song with Lauryn Hill and Nas." Like Lauryn Hill's on. And they're like, "Wait, Lauryn Hill's on?" I'm like, "Yeah,
it's on King's Disease 2. Nobody."
Yeah, it's on King's Disease 2. So I never forget this. I came back. So it was that week. Yeah, I forgot when it came out. But anyway, I come back later on that week, and I worked with a lot of court officers who were like, my age or younger. So one of them pulled me aside. They're like, "Bro," they're like, "Yo, Lauren straight killed that track." Like they were saying, like she like murdered Nas on his own track. They were like, "Dog, like I've never seen a female." Or even like anybody really murder Nas like that on the track. I was like, yeah, bro. I was like, I told you. And I was like, but they said the same. They were like, this is why we said it. The potential was there for her to be the greatest female rapper with no question. Like when you hear that, you're like, bro, you couldn't give us that. You couldn't give us another album just like that.
It's a shame we didn't.
It is disappointing. It's just so disappointing because
and that That whole album, man, King's Disease 2 is like,
oh yeah,
classic, bro.
Classic.
I don't like to use that word often. I feel like we've thrown that word around a lot on this pod.
Yeah.
But nah, that album that's one of Nas's best albums.
Oh, it is. Yeah. So,
sure.
But
yeah, man, great discussion. I love showing the females love, man. There's a lot of dope female MPs.
On social media, we're gonna put up, we won't put up our top 5, but we really want the ladies to be engaged. We're gonna ask, like, who are your top 5 female rappers of all time?
Just who your favorite rappers?
Who your favorite rappers are? Yeah. You don't have to give why, but just give us a little list. Maybe just give us a top. You don't have to give us a top 10. Give us maybe like 5. You know what I mean? So we're gonna shout out a lot of our female listeners. Like, hey, who's your top 5 female rappers? So I'm gonna tag a lot of people.
Gotta show the ladies love.
Yeah, there you go.
All right, D. That'll wrap it up for another episode, man. We'll do it again next week.
Peace.
Peace.